Today is Thursday, November 26th. It is morning in Los Angeles and morning in America. I am your host, Casey Phoenix, and this is my morning political thought. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everyone who is watching or listening to the podcast. Speaking of listening to the podcast, something very, I'll say, suspect happened yesterday. My podcast is distributed on several platforms, as some of you may already know. However, the main platform that I've always mentioned is Anchor. The Anchor website was down most of the day yesterday. Now, it's interesting to me. Anchor is one of the largest distributors of podcasts in the world. Everyone knows about Anchor. One reason that Anchor is so popular is because it doesn't cost anything. You probably heard my little commercial or whatever ad before listening to this podcast. And people can say, okay, Casey, it seems like you're about to go into conspiracy territory. No, I just think it's really strange. Yesterday, there was a hearing, and I'm not big on hearings, state or federal. I think most hearings are dog and pony shows. However, with the hearing that happened yesterday in Pennsylvania, a lot of things were said. And also the president called in yesterday, which was pretty cool. He was supposed to go there in person, but some stuff happened with, yeah, so that didn't work out. However, the president called in and said his piece and did that. But there was a lot of evidence presented during this hearing. Some people were watching on RSBN, others were watching on, which RSBN is Right Side Broadcasting Network. And then others were watching on, I believe, OAN, which is One America News. And then I believe some people were watching on America's Voice, I believe the name of the network is. I don't know if Newsmax was carrying it or not, but I was watching directly on the Pennsylvania website because I got the website address when I was watching The War Room with Steve Bannon. And the guy who was on there, he had said their website address. So I just went ahead and went to the website address and watched the live stream from there, from the official state Pennsylvania website. And I watched the entire thing. It was interesting. There was one part where this one guy, he was a little bit boring and even in just very long-winded. And even one of the senators had said something to the effect of, can you tell us this in I guess a condensed manner or something like that, the senator had said. And then the guy was like, oh, well, it's just the attorney and me. And I'm just like, dude, my eyes are starting to glaze over. Can you please get to the point? But for the most part, it was really, really good information. And it's just interesting that yesterday on one of the largest podcast distributors in the world, it goes down when this hearing is happening. And I know people are like, well, KC, what did they know? No, Trust me, I'm about to explain. The reason it went down is because the servers that they use went down. Do you know who provides their services for their servers? Wait for it. Amazon Web Services. Now, me being who I was, I went to Amazon's website. Amazon's website was doing just fine. So clearly their servers were up, which I'm sure they have a separate set of servers, which is fine. But I'm also pretty sure on keeping things in-house, which is what a smart company does. That's one thing I push companies to do that I have worked for, is to keep things in-house so you don't have to worry about third parties interfering or paying extra money and doing all this other stuff. So I'm pretty sure that Amazon Web Services handles Amazon servers for their website, for Amazon.com. In addition to that, the company that I work for, because I work in tech and music and stuff on my regular job, and one of the sites, actually, no, a few of the sites that are used, it deals with Amazon Web Services. When I was working yesterday, all those sites were up. So the servers that are connected to one of the largest podcast distributors in the world, those were down most of the day yesterday. They were down because I get up usually around 5-ish in the morning or so. 5-ish, 6:15 probably at the latest. And I started the process. I recorded the show, as you know, because the videos, I did put the videos up on BitChute and Dailymotion and YouTube and so forth. But usually my process is I'll rip the audio out of the video first, and then I'll upload the audio to the podcast first. And the reason I do the podcast first is because I have more listeners on my podcast than I do watching my videos, which is fine. I don't care. However people want to consume information, more power to you. I love you regardless because you take time to listen to me, whether it's through video or through audio. But I do the podcast first around, I want to say 7 something. It was working, but it was slow. And when I tried to upload the file, the upload failed. And then I tried again and it failed again. And then the site just went completely down. And I'm like, okay, well, is it my laptop? Is it my computer? I'm like, okay, let me try a different ISP. For those internet service provider. So I was like, all right, let me do it this way from a different internet service provider and see if I get the same thing. So that's when the error messages started coming up with the bad gateway, and then it said gateway temporarily not available and all this stuff. Anchor didn't come back online until about, I want to say 7 or 8 Pacific Standard Time from what I had seen. And then I didn't receive an email until an hour or so after that saying that, hey, Anchor's back up. This is what we have. It's just weird to me. It's just weird to me that Amazon's website was up. Other websites that use Amazon Web Services was up. But during the day, that ridiculous amount of information, because for people who are podcasters, obviously the information will get out regardless because sites can't stay down forever, just like Twitter is trying to suppress Sidney Powell's website and do stuff. Information eventually gets out. But to do things in real time, there is a huge advantage to that. And during that entire day yesterday, the servers were down, which were connected to the Anchor podcast, which is, like I said, one of the largest distributors in the world of podcasts. So if anybody who had a voice like mine was looking to upload something on Anchor podcast yesterday related to what was said or what had happened, or wanted to give the piece by piece part, they wouldn't have been able to do it yesterday in real time because the servers were down, even though the servers were working for other websites. Make it make sense. So yeah, here we are. I uploaded the audio for yesterday's episode today, as you probably noticed, which was about the 2016 and 2020 election. As for what's going on right now, Sidney Powell filed her complaints last night. It was late last night, Eastern Standard Time, close to midnight. And the one in Georgia was 104 pages, and the one I wrote And the one in Michigan was 74 pages. Now, when she first filed the one in Georgia late last night, it was like a movie. Everyone had an opinion, and there were critics. So, yeah. And it was mixed reviews. Some people were like, oh, well, this is what she mentioned in her interviews. And some people were like, oh, wow, there's a lot of information in this. It will be interesting to see how it goes. Just like I had a feeling that something big would happen right before or right after Thanksgiving, which that's been proven true after yesterday. I have a feeling as well. I got that last night, not a premonition, but just a feeling that the last week, starting next week, so the last week of November, because it's really the 30th on Monday. So that week, and then the week after that, all hell is going to break loose. Don't know why, just have a feeling. So yeah, this is going to get interesting. This will get very interesting, is what I will say about that. But as for Sidney Powell, now for those who are saying, those doubters that said, oh, well, she doesn't have anything and she's probably not going to release anything, and she was dropped from the legal team and everything else. And I'm like, okay, obviously you don't know Sidney Powell. I've been consistent throughout because I know her resume. I know her record. I know that she had already spoke with Lynn Woods about the evidence that she had, which Lynn Woods is also filing his complaints as well. So I knew she planned on doing something. And I was right. While other people were like, oh, she's not going to do anything. And now they're saying, oh, it's just now that she's released, done the complaints, now people are saying, oh, well, it's just a grift. She just wants to make money. Look, I don't like grifters, just like anybody else. I don't care for grifters. But let's be honest here. Nothing can be done for free. It just can't. Everything that she's doing, it costs money. You have to have researchers. You have to have equipment. You have to have investigators on top of the researchers, because you have the people who are researching inside, like if they're at a computer researching. Then you have the investigators who are the foot soldiers who are out in the field looking for information, going to people, conducting interviews, vetting the people who are saying they're willing to sign the affidavit, because you can sign an affidavit and yes, it's under penalty of perjury. However, you still have to vet that person. Even if the person is telling the truth, you still have to get an idea of what their character is. Because if this person takes the stand and they're cross-examined by an attorney, and they bring up something like, oh, they used to sell drugs or whatever, I'm just throwing something out there, then you might need to know that. And not saying that people who have done something taboo in their past, I'm not saying those people can't tell the truth. We all have stuff in our past. I'm saying that you don't want to be blindsided as an attorney when you have your witness up on the stand. You don't want to be blindsided. So you have to have investigators and people out in the field doing research, verifying everything's correct in regards to someone's past, in addition to seeing what they can piece together about the story that the witness has told. Because the witness is telling a story, it's like, okay, you have the investigator. See what clues you can find based off of that story that can make sure that everything is solid on the allegations that have been made. So there are so many things behind the scenes when it comes to legal that you have to deal with And it amazes me how people don't get that. And that stuff, investigators don't come cheap. Researchers don't come cheap. Filing stuff doesn't come cheap. All of that stuff costs money. So she's been a woman of her word. If you want to know who Sidney Powell is, check out her resume. Her resume speaks for itself. She's not some crackpot. She's exposed corruption before. And that's why I've always been consistent when it comes to Sidney Powell. Now, will anything happen with this? I don't know, because when it comes to judges, it's whatever. The Pennsylvania hearing went really well. It went well in the sense it was nice for people to get the information out, because as I said before, it was covered on RSBN, it was covered on OAN, it was covered on America's Voice and other places where you could go to the website and they could see the information that was presented. But in addition to that, it was good for people to vent a little bit. I think it was a little bit cathartic to get it out, because even though Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis and even Victoria Tensing and Joe DeGeneva and a few others and Sidney Powell have been going on certain news outlets, whether it's Newsmax, OAN, or what have you, Fox Business, telling the story, it still hasn't reached as many people as it should have reached. And I feel that was a good thing to get the information out, but also for people to just listen to what the evidence was, because that's what was presented, was evidence saying, hey, this is what we have, evidence of election fraud, voter fraud. These are the examples. These are the irregularities. The word I couldn't say yesterday. But that is what they showed. And to get all of that out, I feel like some people were happy that that was done. Now, to my understanding, based off of what I had seen on the War Room, the senators had went to the White House. I don't know what the end result of that was. I don't know what the substance of any conversations that had been had was. All I know is I forgot his name. He was a colonel. He's a colonel. He's one of the head guys, and he was doing most of the talking, and he was really popular and is very popular right now. However, I'm a person that believes in action. People can talk all day long. What are you doing? That's the question. So, but he was saying that they were going to the White House for meatballs and pizza. They were on their way. So, yeah. I don't know how the dinner went. I don't know if the dinner happened. All I know is that they said they were on their way in a bus to the White House. Haven't heard anything else. And also that colonel, his personal account was suspended, but his government account for him as senator has not been suspended by Twitter. So Twitter is really going all out. And all I can say is they better pray to God that President Trump does not get a second term, because it's going to go down after the dust settles if President Trump gets a second term. That's all I can say about that. What else? Oh, yeah, the Supreme Court ruled against Governor Cuomo in regards to religious gatherings. It's a temporary ruling. It was a 5-4 decision. 5-4. I didn't even look at who sided with what, but because it was a 5-4 decision, I kind of have a feeling who was where. And I think you do too. But regardless, it was still a win. So they ruled against Governor Cuomo. So that's happening. And also there's another lawsuit by all of the counties of New York, to my understanding, or at least over 60 counties in New York, in regards to the lockdowns that's happening. right now, and that will more than likely make its way to the Supreme Court. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, that'll be another win. And I'm trying to think, any other side news stories that. Oh yeah, as I mentioned yesterday, General Flynn was pardoned. That was official. It shouldn't have come to that, but it is what it is. If I were President Trump, what I would do, just to drive people crazy, I would fire the CIA director and I make General Flynn director of the CIA. Just to drive people crazy. So yeah, and I fired the FBI director and put Dan Bongino in as FBI director and do that just to drive people crazy. So, and also because they're qualified too. They're very qualified. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion. What else? Trying to think anything else interesting, side news stories. I'm doing this off the top of my head here. Anything else been happening that I can think of? There was a judge in Pennsylvania. They want to stop the certification of Pennsylvania, even though the governor has signed off on the certification of Pennsylvania, the judge still wants to stop the certification. So that's kind of interesting. In Georgia, there was something, I posted it on my Instagram, The Purple Elephant Show on my Instagram, for those who follow Instagram. I forgot what it was. I posted something. It was something in regards to, it was a request for the camera footage because, they said the pipe burst and all this other stuff. So that there was a request for that. And I feel like something else happened in Georgia besides Sidney Powell filing the complaint and releasing the Kraken. I feel like something else happened. But anyways, let me go ahead and get into my morning political thought because I'm already 22 minutes into this. In today's Thanksgiving, and yeah. I said this before where I'm thankful for President Trump. But it's weird because when someone can change how you view things, that's sort of a big deal. It is what, like, how you view certain things in life as you're going through life. Because obviously, as our lives change, so do our needs. And as things happen to us over time, those moments, those incidents, they determine how we react and they determine how we view the world. But when a single person can usher in a whole new thought, a whole new way of thinking, that's pretty incredible when a single person can do that. And I mentioned this before. I wouldn't have given Republicans the time of day if it wasn't for President Trump. I probably never would have considered voting Republican. And the only reason that I did it was because of the media. I knew they were lying. At a certain point, I knew they were when it came to him. Before President Trump, it was like I mentioned before in one of my previous episodes. I didn't think the media would lie to me. And I called all the names, whether it's websites or whether it's television networks or whatever. But certain things about President Trump, I heard them say, and I'm like, wait a second, that's not true. I know that's not true. And because of them lying so much, I was like, well, I don't want to listen to lies all day long. So then I started listening to more conservative sources. And I heard other points of view, is what I heard. And it made it made a lot more sense with certain things. Not all things. Because as I said before, Democrats don't, not all of their ideas are horrible. I'm not saying, oh, they're, uh, how can I put this? Uh, Less are good, but not all are horrible when it comes to Democrat ideas. I just feel they don't get it. It's more of, it's almost like some of these ideas on Democrats, a lot of them are in theory. It's almost like, and that's the thing with President Obama. And while I'm on this, I'll go ahead and touch on that. His ideas might have sounded good in theory, but once they were put in motion, it was like, no, that's not gonna work. We need to redo this. Just like what was the thing in California? I think it was AB5 or AB55. That the situation that happened with Lyft and Uber, where it affected independent contractors. And then, of course, they had to create a new proposition on this previous election and undo what the legislation was that was passed. Well, when they were passing legislation, because again, Republicans don't run California, Democrats do. But when they passed the legislation here in California originally, which I think it was AB5 or AB55, whatever it was called, it sounded good in theory, but once it was executed, they were like, all the people were like, this sucks. That is usually the case with Democrats. They're good with coming up with theories, but theories are not proven experiments. They're just theories. Theories are not proven. So when you get to the part where you have to prove the theory, usually it falls flat because they don't have the necessary experience to create something that once executed there won't be any issues, because they don't have a lot of real world experience when it comes to Democrats in power. They don't have a lot of real world experience. But when you deal with someone who has real world experience, like business owners usually have real world experience. Business owners have to deal with things that the average person doesn't have to deal with. And business owners can see how it will affect, how an action will affect a business owner and how it will affect an individual as well. Because they've already dealt with this. They've dealt with real world experience. But someone who is more in theories or more of educators and dreamers and all this other stuff, they don't have any real world experience, so they throw all the stuff out there and they're like, oh yeah, it's gonna work. And the theory hasn't been tested, even though it has been tested in other countries with certain situations. But these are minor details. And the theory hasn't been tested, and then once they put it into action, it falls flat. So that's the issue on the Democrat side. But with Republicans, because they are more for independence with, small business, and also now blue collar workers and everything else, because the party obviously has expanded. It's just the ideas are better. They are. Like I said, on the Democrat side, not all the ideas are horrible. If you say that every single idea from Democrats is horrible, then that's not fair and it's not right. And it's not accurate. So let's make that clear. It's just on the Republican side, they have better ideas. They just do. And when I went to other outlets and I'm hearing these other ideas, I'm like, wow. And with Governor Huckabee, I mentioned this before during my podcast. I did not like Governor Huckabee. The reason I didn't too much care for Governor Huckabee was because of his stance on gay marriage. And because of that, I couldn't get past that to hear anything else he was saying. But because I was forced to listen, I was forced to listen because the other media sources that I usually go to, once I figured out they were lying, thanks to President Trump, I figured out they were lying. I was forced to listen to other media sources. And I listened to Governor Huckabee because he is a regular on conservative media sources. And I was like, wait a second. Some of his ideas are actually pretty good. Let me skip past the gay marriage thing, which it doesn't matter now. Even because it's been handled by the Supreme Court, even though it shouldn't have been. But hey, for me, I'll take the win. but with Governor Huckabee, I was like, wow, he has some very interesting ideas. And in addition to that, he's a very funny person. I did not know he was so funny. He's very, very funny. And I was like, And you get introduced to this totally different world. Now, I'm still an independent. I don't see myself ever voting Democrat again, but there's no guarantee that I will vote Republican, especially depending on how things go over the next few weeks. But none of this would have happened for me and for other people with the walkaway movement with Brandon Strzok. None of that. He would probably still be a raging left-leaning liberal, if not for figuring out that the media lied about the president. Because he was like, well, if they lied to me about this, what else did they lie about? And I'm not saying that conservative media doesn't lie or they don't get it right. They have their screw-ups too. Don't get me wrong. They do. Just like calling Arizona. But these are minor details. However, when it comes to opening one's mind up to the possibilities of other ideas, for millions and millions of Americans, if it wasn't for President Trump, that never would have happened. It just wouldn't have. It just wouldn't. And that's why, and this goes into what I was talking about before. That's why these establishment Republicans, that's why people like me are livid right now. Because the establishment Republicans are so full of themselves. They have such hubris that it's like, well, they got to vote for us or they're not going to, or that's it. They just got to vote for us. They're not going to vote for the Democrats. It is irritating because they don't realize that the president gave them a gift wrapped in a huge red bow. Gave the Republican Party a gift wrapped in a huge red bow. And they're like, forget this movement, forget this populist movement, forget all this other stuff, and let's throw Trump overboard. Forget the people, the tens of millions of people who voted for him. Forget that. Because I told you I believe about 75 million people voted for President Trump, is what I believe. Because they were saying 71, then it went up to 72. Now I think it's at 73. Like I said before, I believe about 75 million people voted for President Trump. I said it back probably a week or two ago. To throw all of that away when this was given to them, they were a dying party on life support. And the party expanded with minorities, Black, Latino, Asian, gay. They were given this gift wrapped in a big red bow. And they're like, nope, we want things the way they were so we can make our families rich and make ourselves rich. Okay. Regardless of what may happen, and like I said, and I'll keep on saying it, as I've said before, I'm nowhere near the break glass in case of emergency. Nowhere near that. Because I still feel that President Trump will pull this out. Because I know that he won. I had a premonition telling me that he was going to win before the election. So I know that he won. I don't care what any side says. I know President Trump won the election. When it comes to this situation, and when it comes to everything that has happened over the years, I am thankful that he decided to run because he had a choice. I mean, what billionaire would want to be verbally assaulted almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? His family verbally assaulted almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Lied about almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Receive no credit for all the amazing things that he has done during his presidency. Who would want to go through that when you can live the life and be good? Everyone loved President Trump before he ran for office, before he became a Republican. Everyone, well, almost everyone, except, Rosie O'Donnell. She didn't love him. But it's like, who would want to go through that? Who would want to put themselves and their family through all of that hell when they can say, you know what, let somebody else carry America on their shoulders. I'm good. I'm filthy rich. I will fly around in my planes. I'll go anywhere I want to go. I'll buy what I want to buy. I'll do what I want to do. My kids are doing well. Let somebody else carry America on their shoulders. I'm not going to be bothered with it. I'm good. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, that's fine, because I'll still be fine because I'm a billionaire. I know how to protect my assets. He could have had that attitude. He didn't. He's like, something needs to change. The way that things have been done need to be corrected. The old ways are not working. We're draining America of its wealth. We're shrinking the middle class. And America deserves to come first, because Americans deserve the best. Things should be based off of a meritocracy, how hard you work. And if you work hard, you should be rewarded. Let's level the playing field for everyone and let success bring everyone together. That's been his thing. He's like, if everyone is successful, everyone will automatically come together, which is true. Because when people when someone isn't doing well, sometimes envy, anger, greed, jealousy, pick your poison, comes into play. And it's like, well, why don't I have that? I work 40 hours a week. I do the right thing. Why don't I have that? Those things can come into play. But if everyone is successful, where the resources are given for you to pursue whatever you want to pursue. And if America, the better that America does as a country, the more resources available to Americans when they want to pursue their dreams. If America, I'll put it like this, America is the largest economy in the world. I won't say that it's the richest economy because that's up for debate because we owe money. But America is the largest economy in the world. If America was, let's say, the 10th largest economy in the world, the opportunities available to the 10th largest economy would be different than the opportunities available to the first largest economy. It's almost like with negotiations, where if you have a country that sells or that buys, consumes a lot of stuff, then you have leverage to say, you can go to the person who's selling you something and you can say, okay, I'm your largest client. I buy a lot of your stuff. You need to give me a good deal. You don't need to give me a deal that you would give somebody with an economy half the size of ours, or somebody with the 10th largest economy, or the 9th largest economy, or the 20th largest economy, because they don't consume what we consume. Because we consume what we consume and buy what we buy, you need to give us a better deal. Better deals, and this is just an example, brings in better opportunities for everyone. So when the economy shrinks, so does the opportunity. And it's amazing that people don't see that, especially people on the other side. They're just like, oh, well, it's going to be the new normal. America's in decline and all this stuff. Why accept that? Why accept your country being in decline? And like President Trump said, it's true. The other countries should put their countries first too. They should be fighting for the number one spot. I don't care for China, or let me rephrase. I don't care for the Chinese Communist Party. However, I respect their fight. I respect their fight that they're like, we want the number one economy, and we're going to get the number one economy. Because if we have the number one economy, we will have more influence over the world. We can get better deals, we can do better this, and we can bring better opportunities to the party. Because with communism, it's more, everything is for the party, not for the people, if that makes sense. which is why it kind of sucks. Because with the American mindset, it's like, okay, we're for ourselves, and that's not a bad thing. And what we do, what we produce, it bubbles up to create more of a tapestry of things. If someone builds a company, that company then affects the lives of others Americans because they have the independence to pursue and do what they want to do and not be stunted by regulations or what have you, the government fully interfering. And because their company was allowed to grow, it creates other things. I mentioned Amazon earlier. I don't care for Amazon in the sense of how some of their policies work and who runs Amazon. I don't agree with Jeff Bezos's politics. However, I do appreciate that a lot of people working right now, they have Amazon jobs, receiving checks, paying money. So I respect that. And Amazon is an American company, even though they act like communists sometimes, but these are minor details. But allegedly. And with these companies that are built, they were still built because of the independence of the American spirit. It wasn't where if you build a company in a communist country, the first thing that you have to have in mind is, okay, how will this work with the government? How will this benefit the government in the country? In America, when you start a company, if you want to start a makeup company or a pots and pans company, or I'm just making stuff up here, or a dishwasher or dryer company, you don't have to think about, oh, well, how will this help the United States government? It doesn't matter. Uncle Sam will get his cut regardless, unless you have good accountants. It's more of, I want to build this company. I have this dream. This is what I want to do. And this is how it's going to happen. And that's it. The government is sort of an afterthought in a way. Like taxes are a given, but you don't have to think about, oh, well, will Uncle Sam say for this pots and pans company, how will that benefit the government as a whole? Can we use this to leverage to do this or to do that and everything else? Getting involved when they don't, it's like, wait a second, why are you getting involved? This is my dream. Hold on. This is my dream. Why are you involved? I just want to start my company. I have a dream. I want to do this. Only let me pay you your small little cut and mind your business. So it's just a different mentality. And I don't think people always get that. I don't think they get that. But being the largest economy in the world comes with perks, is what I'm saying. And that's why President Trump wants us to stay the largest economy in the world and grow even larger than what we are now. Because the larger that our economy becomes, the more perks our country will receive. The more perks our country receives, the more opportunities there will be for people who have dreams, who want to pursue success, who are willing to work for success, who are willing to go after what they want. And for those who are willing to work regular jobs, there's nothing wrong with that. Two, you can find a lot of reward in that as well. But we have to have the dreamers. We have to have the people who are the job creators in order to have those jobs available. And if the company, all right, Freudian slip. If the country is competing with one hand tied behind its back or a weight around its neck and not being able to unleash its full potential because it's locked up in stupid things like the Paris Climate Accord or whatever BS agreements they want to throw on the United States to take money out of the country, then the opportunities won't come. And it's like I said, the picture is a lot larger than some people are able to see because they can just see what's in front of them. But it's a whole lot broader than that. So yeah, he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to work hard to build up the economy like he did. And once he's in office for his second term, he will build it up again. But I'm thankful that he took the time, that he cared enough to take the hits to bring opportunity to the country and also to open people's eyes. And I don't think his, let me rephrase, because I'm going to say this more exact. I know his intention was not to, on his goal of pursuing the presidency, I know his intention was not to like open people's eyes to things. That wasn't it. I believe the opening of people's eyes was a byproduct of him running. It was a byproduct of the media lying. So, but I'm thankful for that. Because if he hadn't, the byproduct of the media getting caught with lying so much because of their derangement, so many eyes wouldn't have been opened to what it was. You know, some of us would probably be Hillary supporters or something. So yeah, I'm thankful for President Trump and what he's done and what he will continue to do. So yeah, that's what I have for this Thanksgiving and my morning political thought. As you can tell, I had extra time today. I can't believe this went almost an hour and I was just talking. So, you know, it is what it is. If you listen this long, I love you. The Purple Elephant Show main podcasting platform, Anchor, is back up now in the sense of I can upload episodes now. And like I said yesterday, it's awfully convenient that their servers, Amazon servers, were down related to Anchor while the hearing was happening. But hey, what do I know? The Purple Elephant Show on Instagram, The Purple Elephant Show on Parler. If you're watching this on BitChute, YouTube, or Daily Motion, don't forget to hit the subscribe button followed by the notification bell for YouTube. And I hope everyone has an amazing and awesome and lovely Thanksgiving. Try not to eat too much because you're going to gain. I forgot what the thing was. Oh, what was it? I think they say during the holidays, people gain anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds, or is it 10 to 15 pounds? Something like that. Try to remember that so you don't have to work so hard when January comes to get the weight off. So yeah, enjoy your holiday, everyone. Until next time, be blessed.